At first, it was only a tremor. Gentle, rhythmic, almost too precise to be natural. Instruments at the base of Mount Kakina began recording something no volcano had ever done before. It breathed. Every 42 seconds, the mountain exhaled a deep, rolling wave of heat and ash, followed by a stillness so complete it felt like the earth itself was holding its breath. Scientists dismissed it as coincidence, seismic noise, a glitch in the data. But Dr. Evelyn Merrick stood beneath the smoking ridge and felt the pulse through her boots. Steady, alive, deliberate. The air shimmered around her like the heartbeat of a sleeping giant. When her sensors confirmed a flow of oxygen mixed with vaporized minerals, she froze. Volcanoes don't breathe. They burn. Yet something inside this one was inhaling the sky itself. And what it released wasn't just gas. It was something else. Something living. Beneath the ash-streaked dawn, Evelyn and her team descended through the blackened ridges, each step echoing like a heartbeat in the hollow mountain. The air thickened with warmth, humming with low vibrations that made their equipment tremble. Leo monitored his scanner, its readings looping like a pulse graph, rising, falling, steady. The volcano was alive, and it was regulating itself. It's matching human respiration, Leo murmured, eyes widening. Nia sent her drone ahead, its lights cutting through a throat of smoke. The readings surged. Oxygen concentration spiked again. Evelyn realized they were no longer entering a geological structure. They were stepping into something that behaved like a living organism. The walls around them pulsed faintly, and the sound of rushing air seemed to come from deep within, as if the earth itself was whispering through stone lungs. They reached a chamber so vast it could swallow a cathedral. The air shimmered with golden mist, and each breath felt thick, almost alive. Evelyn waved her arm through the haze, and light particles twisted, drifting toward her motion like dust drawn by magnetism. "That's not smoke," Leo said, scanning the air. "It's organic." His readings pulsed with strange energy signatures, carbon structures, but flexible, responsive. Nia's drone recorded slow waves moving across the chamber floor, like a sleeping creature shifting in its dreams. The ground throbbed once more, and a sound was unmistakable, a long, deep exhale. Evelyn's voice was barely a whisper. "It's breathing again." The mist flowed toward a fissure ahead, vanishing into its glow. Something was alive down there, and it was aware they had arrived. The further they moved, the louder the rhythm became, a deep rumble that no longer sounded random. It was timed, structured, like a biological process. Evelyn checked her watch. 42 seconds between each pulse, perfectly steady. She whispered, "The same interval as respiration in mammals under rest." Leo frowned. A volcano can't mimic biology. Unless... His thought trailed off as Naya's drone feed flickered. For a heartbeat, a shape appeared within the mist, fibrous strands weaving in circular motion, glowing faintly blue, like veins contracting. The image vanished, but the air felt charged. The next tremor sent a warm gust through the tunnel, and Evelyn steadied herself against the wall. The rock's surface pulsed beneath her fingers, slow, alive, deliberate. She pulled her hand back, heart racing. "It's not rock," she said. "It's tissue." When the next pulse came, the ground seemed to inhale, lowering them an inch before exhaling again with a gust of vapor that rushed past like hot wind. The mountain was alive and communicating in rhythms of pressure and heat. Leo's scanner translated the data into audio waves. The result was a haunting sound, long, low tones that rose and fell with impossible precision. Nia looked up. "That's music," she said softly. The tones repeated, forming patterns too deliberate to be natural. Evelyn stared into the glowing fissure ahead, her mind racing. If this was communication, what was it saying? The mountain seemed to wait, silent, as if anticipating a response. Then came the final pulse, stronger, deeper, and unmistakably directed at them. Evelyn whispered the question, trembling on her lips. What if it's trying to talk to us? By sunrise, the rhythmic breathing had synchronized with the mountain's heat signatures, forming waves that traveled deep below the crust. Evelyn's equipment mapped the pulses into three-dimensional motion, patterns so symmetrical they could have been engineered. It's generating order from chaos, Leo murmured, eyes locked on the readings. The volcano was no longer a geological anomaly. It was a living system responding to its environment. Nia's drone glided through the cavern, scanning deeper until its sensors picked up a low-frequency hum, the same resonance as a human heartbeat. Evelyn's pulse quickened as data appeared on her display, a sequence of oxygen emissions forming repeating ratios of 5 to 8, Fibonacci spirals, nature's code. The volcano wasn't just breathing. It was following a pattern of life itself. The hum grew louder as the team entered a tunnel coated with crystallized minerals that shimmered like frost under heat. Every surface vibrated faintly, as if responding to their step. Leo stopped suddenly, pointing to his scanner. Trace elements of hemoglobin compounds, he said, voice barely above a whisper. In rock, Evelyn leaned closer. The readings pulsed red and blue, mirroring the oxygen flow of blood. She pressed her palm to the wall again. It was warm, soft, breathing. This volcano has circulation, she said. The realization sank in, cold and impossible. The earth beneath them wasn't just alive, it was evolving, adapting. And if this was only the beginning, what would happen when it fully awakened? A sudden tremor knocked loose a chunk of glowing stone. It shattered on impact, spilling vapor that twisted upward like smoke from lungs. The hum shifted tone. Lower, deeper, almost away. Evelyn steadied herself and noticed the patterns forming in the vapor. Fractal spirals repeating endlessly. Nia's drone captured the shapes, and Leo overlaid the visuals with seismic data. The rhythm matched the heartbeat pattern of an animal under stress. It's accelerating, Leo said. Evelyn's voice trembled. Then it's not random. It's reacting to us. The volcano's pulse quickened, echoing through the cavern like a warning. For the first time, the team realized they weren't just observing a living system. They were inside something that could feel. They retreated to a narrow ledge overlooking a vast molten pit. Below them, waves of magma pulsed like the surface of a beating heart, each contraction sending ripples through the stone walls. Leo's scanner pinged with rhythmic frequency bursts, data signals. These aren't just tremors, he said. They're messages. Evelyn stared at the readings, binary-like intervals hidden within seismic noise. The volcano is transmitting. Nia focused her drone camera on the pit below, zooming through the haze until it caught a glimpse of something extraordinary. Filaments of light weaving in coordinated movement, linking, separating, reforming like neural connections. Evelyn whispered, "It's thinking." The air turned electric as the volcano's rhythm grew faster, its breathing now a steady roar. Dust rained from above and the temperature spiked. Evelyn's voice trembled as she spoke into her recorder. Kakina's oxygen release pattern is reaching biological respiration levels. This is impossible. Leo's scanner flickered, then froze. A new waveform appeared. Short bursts of structured rhythm separated by silence. It wasn't natural. It was intentional. The sequence repeated 3 times before ending in a final pulse that resonated through the chamber like a heartbeat slowing to rest. Then, for a moment, everything was still. The silence that followed was worse than any sound. Nia looked at Evelyn. "It hurt us," she whispered. Evelyn stared into the molten dark, her voice barely audible. "No," she said. It answered. The next morning, the volcano's silence broke, not with tremors, but with sound. Low vibrations rolled through the caverns, shaping into tones that resonated in the chest more than the ears. Evelyn froze as her equipment began translating frequencies into visible waves. Harmonic, deliberate, structured. "It's a pattern," Leo said, his voice steady but pale with disbelief. Nia adjusted the drone's audio sensors, capturing each deep rumble as it formed pulses like syllables. The mountain wasn't just breathing anymore. It was speaking. The tones carried a strange symmetry, rising and falling with the cadence of language. Evelyn listened, her heart racing. The sound felt familiar, like an echo of something ancient, remembered by the earth itself. "It's not random geology," she whispered. "It's communication." And as the tones deepened, she realized the volcano wasn't calling out in warning. It was calling to someone. The recordings played back with impossible clarity, tones too precise to be natural, structured like a song without melody. Leo ran a spectral analysis, layering the sound against seismic data. "These frequencies map onto geometric patterns," he said, eyes darting across the screen. "Triangles, spirals, forms we see in living cells." Evelyn frowned. "You're saying it's encoding visual data through sound?" Nia zoomed her drone toward a fissure that glowed with faint blue light. As the drone approached, the sound shifted pitch, responding to its movement. "It's reacting," she whispered. The realization struck them all at once. The volcano wasn't a dormant force being observed. It was observing them, and it had just learned they could listen. Hours later, the tones began to layer, forming rhythmic echoes that mimicked breathing. Inhale, exhale, pause. Leo turned up the sensitivity on his scanner. Beneath the sound was something else. Faint electromagnetic bursts. Each pulse carried structured data, fractal and recursive. "This isn't communication as we know it," he said. "It's thought." The air around them vibrated like a living heartbeat, and the rock underfoot shimmered with bioluminescent filaments. Evelyn closed her eyes, letting the sound wash over her, every note resonating with her chest like a wordless message. The frequency spiked, and her earpiece crackled with static that almost formed a whisper, soft, low, and distinctly human. "Listen." Her eyes snapped open. It spoke. Panic and fascination warred inside the team as the sounds grew more complex. Layered frequencies intertwining like voices in a choir. The mountain wasn't producing random tones anymore. It was constructing phrases. Evelyn replayed the data, mapping frequencies to seismic pressure shifts. The results formed symmetrical bursts resembling human phonetics. "It's learning our cadence," she said. Nia's voice trembled, or it's remembering it. The implication hung in the heavy air. Could something buried in molten rock retain a form of memory, older than language itself? The next pulse answered with a sudden surge of energy that knocked out their lights. For a moment, they stood in darkness, until a single luminous shape rose from the fissure below, glowing with rhythmic light like a heartbeat seen through glass. When the light stabilized, it hovered just above the magma, a shifting mass of luminescent filaments coiling into spiral patterns. The sound deepened, vibrating through the ground and into their bones. "It's not just sound," Leo said, voice shaking. "It's resonance. It's alive in multiple frequencies." The glowing mass pulsed once, and their instruments froze. Symbols formed on Evelyn's screen, not random noise but structured mathematics, prime sequences repeating endlessly. "It's intelligence," she breathed. The chamber brightened until their shadows stretched like ghosts across the rock. Then, through the roar, a single tone rang out. Sharp, deliberate, and impossibly clear. It resonated in their skulls, forming one unmistakable word that none of them spoke aloud. Yet, all understood. The word was awake. The luminous mass descended into the molten core, and suddenly, the volcano's breathing changed. It was faster now, stronger, like something coming alive after centuries of sleep. Evelyn's sensors screamed with new readings. Carbon-based filaments, replicating under extreme heat. It's metabolizing energy, Leo said in disbelief. It's feeding. Nea's drone tracked the filaments as they spread across the magma's surface, weaving into patterns that looked eerily like neural networks. Each pulse of light corresponded to a frequency of sound, a heartbeat of thought. The team watched as the walls began to glow with branching veins of light stretching upward. The mountain wasn't just alive. It was building something. Evelyn felt the floor tremble beneath her boots and whispered, "It's waking up." A deep resonance answered, rolling through the cavern like the voice of the earth itself rising from its slumber. The glow expanded into the tunnels, crawling across stone like veins under translucent skin. The heat was suffocating, yet the team couldn't look away. The living filaments pulsed with bioluminescent light, synchronizing perfectly with the volcano's rhythm. "It's forming a network," Leo said, kneeling by a wall where the filaments had merged into the rock itself. Nia pointed at her monitor. The patterns were spreading faster than any biological process on record. Evelyn's breath hitched as the realization struck. The volcano wasn't just alive, it was growing. The frequencies in the air shifted into harmonic resonance, vibrating through their bodies until they could feel the pulse in their bones. The light patterns formed fractal loops, glowing brighter with every cycle, as if the mountain were learning, remembering, becoming. Hours passed, and the air began to move in rhythm with the glowing veins. Every exhale from the volcano felt like the breath of a living being, filling the cavern with mist that shimmered like liquid light. Leo held a scanner over one of the filaments. The readings defied every biological model. Energy output identical to photosynthesis, but powered by heat, not light. "It's using magma the way plants use sunlight," he said. Evelyn turned slowly toward him. "Then it's a new form of life," she whispered. Nia's drone zoomed in, revealing microscopic cells along the filaments, hexagonal, pulsating, self-replicating. As the drone moved closer, the cells responded, contracting in a wave as though sensing its presence. The volcano's hum deepened, and Evelyn realized with chilling clarity it was aware of them watching. Suddenly, the light pulsed violently. The ground shuddered, sending shards of glowing crystal tumbling down. The filaments withdrew from exposed surfaces, curling like living tendrils retreating into the stone. Leo shouted over the noise, "It's defending itself." The air became dense, vibrating with a frequency so low it rattled their chests. Evelyn steadied herself, shouting, "Back away!" Nia pulled her drone upward, its sensors flashing red. The hum rose to a piercing resonance that shook the cavern. Then, as suddenly as it began, it stopped. Everything went still, silent except for their ragged breathing. Evelyn turned to the fissure at the center of the chamber. Within the molten glow, a shape was forming. Something vast, fluid, and unmistakably symmetric. "It's creating structure," she whispered. "It's not random anymore." Oh, the light surged again, brighter than before, spreading through the cavern in a storm of color. The mountain's pulse became erratic, almost frantic. Evelyn's sensors overloaded with unreadable data, values climbing beyond measurable limits. "It's accelerating evolution," Leo said, voice breaking with awe. Nia's drone captured the emerging structure, filaments intertwining, hardening into crystalline geometry that shimmered like a heart made of fire. Each beat released a surge of vapor that expanded and contracted, echoing the first breath of a newborn world. Evelyn stepped forward, mesmerized. "This isn't just life," she whispered. "It's creation." The ground rumbled violently, and heat waves rippled across the chamber, as if reality itself was bending. From deep within the fissure came a sound. Not a growl, not a quake, but a slow, deliberate exhale. The volcano had truly awakened. The mountain's pulse grew frantic, shifting from calm respiration to a violent rhythm that shook the ground. Like the pounding of a giant's heart, the glowing veins began to flicker erratically, surging with bursts of molten light that scorched the cavern walls. "It's overheating!" Leo shouted, trying to stabilize his scanner as data spiraled out of control. Evelyn could barely stand as the air thickened with shimmering vapor. The volcano's breathing was no longer steady. It was panicked. Each exhale released searing heat waves that hurled debris through the tunnels. Nia's drone barely dodged falling rock as she struggled to regain control. "It's collapsing in on itself!" Leo yelled. Evelyn stared into the blinding glow below. "No," she whispered. "It's not collapsing. It's changing." The volcano exhaled once more, and the cavern erupted with light so intense it turned the air white. The collapse had begun. Sections of the tunnel gave way, cascading fire and smoke through the narrow passages. The once smooth-breathing rhythm had become chaotic, uncoordinated, like a heart under cardiac arrest. Evelyn shouted through her mask, "We have to get topside before it implodes!" But Leo hesitated, eyes locked on his scanner. "Wait, these readings, it's not dying. It's evolving faster." Nia grabbed his arm. "If we stay, we'll be part of the data." The floor beneath them heaved, throwing them off balance as another pulse cracked the rock apart. Evelyn led the way toward the exit, every step echoing against the collapsing world around them. Behind her, the mountain's voice rose in a low, mournful hum that sounded almost like a cry for help. They burst into a wider cavern where magma cascaded like molten rain. The living filaments had grown unstable, writhing in patterns too fast to follow. "It's losing control," Leo said, his voice barely audible over the roar. Evelyn turned toward the glowing fissure. The filament's once orderly geometry now spasmed violently, creating bursts of plasma that sprayed the walls in arcs of light. Nia's drone captured the chaos, a life form consuming itself. Evelyn realized the truth. The volcano wasn't evolving. It was mutating. The air vibrated with frequencies so loud they blurred into pain, and the heat was unbearable. "It's going to tear itself apart," she cried. Leo's scanner flashed red, and a final warning scrolled across the screen. "Unstable biothermal system. Core breach imminent." The ground split open, sending a wave of searing heat across the cavern floor. Evelyn fell to her knees, coughing as ash clouded her vision. Nia dragged her to her feet, their masks fogged with condensation. Leo shouted something, his words lost in the thunder of the mountain's final exhale. The light grew blinding, filling the chamber with white fire. Then, just as it reached its peak, the brightness collapsed inward, imploding with the force of silence. All sound vanished. For a heartbeat, there was nothing. No vibration, no motion. Only the faint sound of air being drawn back into the void. Evelyn's voice cracked through the silence. It stopped breathing. But as she looked up, she saw faint embers drifting through the air. Tiny sparks pulsing gently, each one breathing on its own. When the dust cleared, they stood in what looked like the skeleton of a world reborn. The magma had solidified into obsidian glass, and within it, faint trails of light moved. Slow, rhythmic, alive. "It survived," Leo whispered. His scanner, still weak but functional, confirmed faint energy signatures, microscopic filaments embedded in the cooled rock, still breathing in perfect intervals. Nia knelt beside a glowing crack, her fingers trembling. "It adapted," she said. Evelyn stared into the depths of the new glass, her reflection merging with the shimmering veins. "It didn't die," she murmured. "It changed form." The volcano had consumed itself only to be reborn as something new, something beyond biology, beyond geology, a fusion of life and Earth itself. And in the stillness as the mountain rested, a faint vibration returned, slow, steady, deliberate. It had learned to breathe again. In the days that followed, The volcano fell silent, but beneath its surface, faint pulses still traveled through the cooled rock like a buried heartbeat. The world above assumed Kaina had gone dormant again, but Evelyn, Leo, and Nia stayed. Something was still alive in the glass. Leo placed a fragment under his microscope, expecting mineral residue, but what he saw defied all logic. "These errant crystal formations," he murmured. "They're cells, hexagonal repeating but structured from silicon, not carbon." Evelyn leaned closer. The cells vibrated in slow, harmonic patterns, each pulse releasing microscopic energy bursts. "They're photosynthetic, but they use heat instead of light." The realization hit them all at once. The organism wasn't just surviving. It was thriving in silence, evolving beneath the earth. And if it could live here, it could live anywhere. Evelyn stared at the data pouring from the instruments. The living crystals replicated at geometric intervals, following mathematical patterns more precise than any known biological process. "It's self-organizing," Leo said, tracing the pattern on the monitor. Nia overlaid the readings with ancient seismic data. Her eyes widened. "Wait, these same pulses existed before the eruption." Evelyn's brow furrowed. "How far back?" Nia hesitated. "Tens of thousands of years." Silence fell. The volcano's rhythm wasn't new. It was ancient. Leo leaned back, his voice barely audible. "This thing didn't form here. It's been waiting." The implications crashed through them like thunder. If this life form wasn't born from Earth's heat, then it came from somewhere else. Something buried, forgotten, and now awakened by accident. That night, a faint tremor rolled through the valley. Gentle, rhythmic, and hauntingly familiar. The mountain was breathing again, but not like before. The pulse spread farther, rippling through nearby hills and rivers, resonating with frequencies the instruments couldn't track. Evelyn stepped outside their tent, the stars above trembling faintly as if respond. "It's sensing with the planet," she whispered. Leah's eyes reflected the soft glow rising from the ground, veins of light crawling through the rock like roots. "It's connecting to the crust, merging." Nia swallowed hard. What if it's not a creature at all? What if it's part of the planet waking up? Evelyn looked out over the horizon, the air alive with quiet vibration. Then Earth might not be as inanimate as we thought. Leo ran simulations, overlaying the volcano's pulse with the planet's magnetic field. The results sent chills through the room. The rhythm matched Earth's natural Schumann resonance, the electromagnetic heartbeat of the world. "It's communicating through the ionosphere," he said. "Not locally, globally." Nia stared at the screen, horrified and fascinated. "You mean it's spreading?" Evelyn nodded slowly, "or reaching out." The thought hung heavy. Was this a signal to something beneath the earth, or something beyond it? Leo zoomed in on the pulse intervals. The ratio repeated with impossible precision. 3-1, the same pattern used in binary transmissions by early satellites. Evelyn whispered, "It's not just alive, it's intelligent." Outside, thunder rolled through the sky, even though no storm had formed. By dawn, the pulses reached a frequency that made every metal object hum softly. The air shimmered with static, and birds circled above the volcano in tight spirals. Evelyn's instruments displayed one final pattern, an encoded waveform repeating endlessly. Leo decoded the sequence, his expression tightening as symbols filled the screen. "It's not random," he said. "It's language." The code formed geometric diagrams of orbits, paths leading outward from Earth into deep space. Nia stared at the display. Mia stared at the display, whispering, "It's a map." Evelyn's breath caught. "A message," she said quietly. The volcano had not been a birthplace. It was a beacon. And the being beneath the crust was not trying to live. It was trying to speak. As the last pulse faded into the air, Evelyn looked toward the horizon, where faint ripples of light arced across the clouds like answers waiting to arrive. The ground trembled again, not with rage, but with rhythm. Slow, deliberate, like the heartbeat of something vast beneath the surface. Evelyn, Leo, and Neo stood at the crater's edge, the dawn wind whipping through ash and smoke. The volcano's glow pulsed in steady intervals, casting golden light into the sky. "It's building energy," Leo murmured. His scanner blinked in sync with the rhythm, then froze. The pulse wasn't seismic, it was electromagnetic, a signal. The volcano was transmitting again. Nea's drone picked up harmonic waves stretching beyond the atmosphere, echoing into space. Evelyn's eyes widened as she watched the data align into perfect geometric sequences. "It's sending the message," she whispered. "But to whom?" The mountain answered with a thunderous exhale of fire, a column of light shooting upward like a flare calling out to the stars. The eruption was silent. No explosion, no chaos, only pure, controlled release. The fire rose like a living column, spiraling in waves that shimmered with fractal symmetry. Evelyn held her breath as the pattern stabilized into glowing symbols suspended in the air, mathematical shapes repeating in golden flame. "It's communicating," Leo said softly. "It's using plasma as language." Nia's drone captured every frame, the camera shaking from the electromagnetic current. The air itself vibrated with meaning, as if the message were written not for their eyes, but their minds. Evelyn felt her heart beat in rhythm with the light. For a moment, the world around her dissolved into pure resonance, sound, heat, and memory blending together. And then, like an echo of creation itself, the mountain spoke in frequencies that no human ear could hear, but every cell could feel. Leo's computer translated the plasma patterns into numeric sequences, familiar, deliberate, repeating. "They're prime numbers," he said. "A universal code." The message wasn't random. It was structured communication, the kind any intelligent civilization would use to announce its presence. Evelyn stared into the firestorm, her voice trembling. "Then this isn't just alive, it's ancient." The volcano's breathing deepened, harmonizing with the frequency of the stars above. Nia turned her drone skyward. The pulse from Kaina synchronized perfectly with distant electromagnetic bursts. "It's connecting to something out there," she whispered. For the first time, the team understood. They weren't alone in the conversation. The being beneath the earth had found its voice, and the universe was listening. The mountain's light began to fade, dimming to a soft golden breath that shimmered across the crater. The symbols in the sky dissolved one by one until only a single shape remained, a spiral of flame curving inward, collapsing into a point of light that pulsed once, twice, 3 times, then held steady. Evelyn recognized the pattern. "It's the same interval," she whispered. 42 seconds. The breathing. Leo smiled faintly through tears. "It's leaving us a signature." The volcano exhaled one final time, a quiet plume drifting into the wind. The earth beneath them stopped trembling, the pulse settling into the silence of completion. Nia whispered softly, "It's done." But Evelyn shook her head. "No, it's begun." And as she spoke, the last spark of light sank into the ground, vanishing into the soil, an ember waiting to be born again. Weeks later, Mount Kaina lay quiet under the Pacific sun. The research camp was gone, the air clear, the ground cool. Yet every instrument on the planet, satellites, sensors, even seismic monitors, recorded faint, rhythmic pulses emanating from deep within the earth. The same intervals, the same pattern, 42 seconds. Evelyn sat on the cooled lava plain, recording her final log. "It wasn't a volcano," she said softly. "It was a messenger." Leo joined her, holding a shard of obsidian still faintly glowing from within, and it spoke in the only language the universe understands. "Pattern." Nia looked toward the horizon, where faint auroras shimmered despite the daylight. "Do you think it reached them?" she asked. Evelyn smiled faintly. It didn't have to, she said. They were already listening. Then, far below, a faint heartbeat echoed once more. Slow, steady, alive.